Tamsen, tell us, do you have an inner critic? How do you tame, who is she? How do you tame her? What does she say to you?
Yeah, I love that question, by the way. Yes, we are twins. We're very close. She's with me all the time. Yeah, I do have an inner critic, and it's a great question. I just love it. You need to ask that all the time. It's just great. I do, and I don't always know how to handle it. I don't. And in fact, this morning I have somebody else in my family very close to me that's has been diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. So I have been it's consumed me and consumed my family. And I got up this morning and I was like, I don't want to get out of bed. And then I remember having this conversation with myself, like, well, why don't you want to get out of bed? You've had these days before you don't want to get out of bed. What do? They usually wind up being a great day somehow down the line. I think with the inner critic, I'm a big person in terms of writing. Like I write down those lists, like what am I feeling and what am I really feeling? Not what do I feel on the surface? What am I really feeling? What am I really afraid of? And then what are the 5 worst things that can happen? And then what are the 5 best things that can happen, right? And so now I do it in my mind. I don't always have to write it down, but that's what I try to do with that. I mean, my inner critic is there all the time. All the time. When I'm on television reading the news, if I mess up on a word, I'm like, oh, what's wrong? You suck. And then I hear myself and I said, oh my God, anything comes out of your mouth goes right back in your ears. So you're just always hearing yourself. So if you're going to do that to yourself, you're your own worst critic, right? And so I've tried to learn how to laugh it off a little bit, or I try to learn how to, stomach some of the things, let the critic be there, and then move forward from it.
Right, because it's almost necessary to have her, right? Inside it, it's what keeps us on it and making good decisions and doing a good job. But at the same time, it's just, we got to learn how to manage her.
Well, I think also because mine is a comparison one. Mine is comparing. She got further ahead. She got this. How did they do that? When did they do that? How did they get their book here? How did they get their brand here? And then I've learned, like, at the end of it all, like, we've all kind of gone through the same struggles, whether we want to admit them or not. And some people don't. Some people just want to put out the perfect thing. I have the perfect way to make $1 million and I'm the smartest one and I've never had a problem ever. But we know that's not true. All of us have gone through something. So I feel like I'm more inclined to want to be next to somebody who goes, yeah, this journey has been awful. Like, this has been really hard. And then I got here and I feel like I have so much more respect for that person and so much more in common with that person, right? And somebody that can criticize themselves and somebody that is okay with saying I'm not perfect and I'm unfiltered and I'm unscripted. I've lived my whole life on television scripted. So outside of TV, I'm okay being unscripted a bit. I actually appreciate it.
Have you heard that quote, comparison robs joy?
No, but I believe it.
Yeah, comparison absolutely robs joy, and we can't help but compare ourselves to others. So it's definitely a struggle.
It is. It really is. I feel sorry for, younger people that sometimes they haven't had experience, right, in certain areas. Like, we've had the experience of what happens with the tough roads. So if I only had the comparison part, I think it could be very, very difficult. But I've had the experience part, so I understand how to hurdle some of those things and just know that it takes time, right, and a different lens to look at stuff. But the comparison does rob joy and time.
It's amazing, Tamsen, to see your self-awareness, because you're somebody who has clearly developed an amazing skill to watch themselves and self-manage. And you're not the first person that we've seen that's incredibly successful, that's had a great, great skill at that. Is that something that you developed? Did you have that naturally? Were you taught that by, mentors or parents? Or talk to us about that.
To self-manage. What's interesting about that? I don't even see it in myself, but I think it's really important. But I do remember I was with a mentor at one time, and she said, remember this, because at that time I was starting, I was on the air, and it was a smaller market, and people would come up to you, and more people would know you in a smaller town. And she said, for every 10 people that love you, somebody is critical of you and doesn't love you. So don't ever let that stuff go to your head, and always remember why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing. Don't let your head get so big. And never forgot that, because I think it's important to kind of keep the the ego in balance, but it's also important to have some of that, right? To have it in the form of confidence. But I never forgot what she said because she was always very, very right. And so I feel like it kept me sort of right there in the middle. So I never let something get to my head where I made ridiculous decisions based on the fact that I thought I was invincible. But I made good decisions based on, I think the right thing to do, the right decision.
I still think public speaking is the number one fear in the world.
Oh, I can't stand speaking publicly. I can't stand it.
Really?
I do it all the time. I'm never afraid every night when I go on a camera, because remember, in the studio, there's 5 to 10 people in the studio at any given time. And I'm not looking at them, I'm looking at a camera. But public speaking, you feel everyone's energy right in that room, right? So you can feel how people feel about you, even if you're doing it on, maybe Zoom is a little bit easier for me, but in person, I feel that. Now, when I'm done with it, I feel amazing. Like, oh my gosh, I could, pick up a car. I feel so strong. But before I do it, I always have a lot of anxiety about it. Yeah, tons.
Well, given the fact that public speaking is the number one fear, I believe, in our country,
Yeah.
What are some tips you might give people to overcome public speaking?
Oh, I can do that one because I have to every time I do it. I am always really prepared, but I always do things in bullet points because it's what I know how to do from work. So instead of having a full-fledged script, I always have bullet points in there. So it makes my brain have to think about it in a little different way. So I really understand why and what I'm talking about versus the words. So instead of the words, I always want to know what the concept of it is. And so I do bullet points. So I'll come up with a piece of paper, and we'll have like a couple of words on each line. So I understand what my format is. And I do know that when I get up there to speak, if it's in person, obviously, I always kind of take that moment to compose myself and get the room. That's what I feel like I'm doing. So I don't go up there and then start talking right away, because you kind of trip over your own words, right, when you're doing that. So I take my moment. So I feel like that is my moment for whatever it is, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it takes. I need to feel like my feet are grounded and not get out of breath, because you know what happens when you start getting nervous. You double clutch. And then I always try to get the room on my side. And so I'll say something like, how's everyone doing tonight? Or how's everyone doing today? And get a response. If I don't hear a response, I'll do it again until I feel like they're alive and then they're with me. Instead, I don't want to ever speak at a group. I want to speak with them, so they feel comfortable. And I think that that's always the way that I've been able to breathe on my own, because that's what it is. What makes people nervous about public speaking is they can't, like, everyone's staring at them, right? And they feel all that energy and they feel like they're taking it all in. And instead, I try to share it with them. So I'm not the only one that's, part of that conversation.